Welcome back to another episode of Last Week's Madness, where I go over last week's insanity, stupidity, and blatant hypocrisy. I'm going to start this episode off with the new, totally insane definition for anti-Semitism, and also how they're going to sell it. So this comes from the Fox News website. It's titled, Mark Thiessen, Anti-Semitism Rising on the Left. And now this is how they're going to sell it. They're going to sell this tyrannical measure, tyrannical law, this tyrannical ruling, by saying it's something that the left is doing. And this is perfect because it's on a right-wing website. Now, really, the left and the right, they're both playing for the same side. So please don't mistake anything that I'm saying here as me being on the right or me being on the left. I am simply for truth, and if you want to know my political leanings, I am an anti-federalist, which means I am against federalization, I am against the federal government, and I believe that we need a new constitution that breaks everything down into local governments. We don't need a centralized tyranny. So that's where I stand. But this video isn't about me, it's about last week's madness. So let's get on with the show. So the article starts off by saying, recently the State Department revised its definition of anti-Semitism to include, quote, drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policies to that of the Nazis. An apparent response to the rise of the anti-Israeli BDS movement. BDS stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanctions, which means boycott Israel, divest from Israel, and put sanctions on Israel, whose supporters routinely make such comparisons. And they should, because Israel treats Gaza like an open-air concentration camp. They control the movement in and out of the Gaza Strip, and they also control the supplies. They also routinely cut off power to that region, which causes untold suffering. And not only are their policies in the Gaza Strip Nazi-like, but their policies within Israel are also Nazi-like, where they force Jewish citizens to serve in the army, and they discriminate against people who are not Jewish. But now let's look at the sophistry that they use to try to make it seem like Israel isn't like a Nazi regime. The article goes on to say, that is a good thing. Just a few days ago, I sat in the former SS headquarters of the Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland. So this is basically what they're doing. They're equating Nazism with gas chambers. This is exactly what the article is going to go on to do. So if there aren't gas chambers, they can't possibly be Nazi-like. And here they go doing it. Speaking beside a window overlooking the gas chamber and crematorium where countless souls perished at the hands of the Nazis occupying Poland during World War II, he explained that there is no difference between hatred of Israel and hatred for Jews. Really? There's no difference between a hatred for Israel and a hatred for Jews? But what about the Netoy Karta? You know, the Hasidic Jews that are against Israel. Here's their website, right here, Netoy Karta. And on this website, you can actually find Jews burning the Israeli flag. Here's them protesting. They protest very often. There's another picture of them protesting. Judaism rejects Zionism and the state of Israel. See, there's a difference between Judaism and Zionism and the whole belief of the state of Israel. And here they go right here. They're burning an Israeli flag. And this is, if you read the subcaption, it says, anti-Zionist Orthodox Jews set fire to Israeli flag at bonfire. Yeah, so, that's weird that this guy would say that there's no difference between a hatred for Israel and a hatred for Jews. I mean, are these Jews just like, are they crazy? I mean, they must hate themselves too. I mean, but they're such hardcore Jews. Look at their pictures. These are hardcore Hasidic Jews. These are the ones who have the curls, the hats, the big coats, even in like 90-plus degree weather. These are real Jews right here, and they really hate Israel. And the last brilliant thing I'm going to cover in this article is this statement right here. I can't see why people feel free to compare Israel to the Nazis. Sawinski said, I don't want to comment on it on an intellectual level. It's simply an insult. It's an insult to the victims, and an insult to the survivors, and an insult to a whole country, to a whole society. Wow. He doesn't want to comment on it on an intellectual level. Yeah, don't be intellectual about it. Be emotional about it. Yep, it's an insult to victims. Yep, that's all an emotional argument, an appeal to emotions. So anyway, let's move on to the next article. Let's move on to the next bit of insanity. The next article was covered by a number of news outlets. Well, at least I think it was. But whatever, this specific article also comes from Fox News. That's how I did my gathering. I kind of just gathered all the stuff from one website, then I moved on to the next. It just happens to be in this order. I'm not a Fox News fanatic. This one's just from Fox News, and I'm letting people know where I get my articles from. So this one is titled, Wendy's manager reportedly suspended after claiming local area has no talent pool to hire from. Quote, most are recovering addicts. This wasn't the response a frustrated customer was likely expecting. When a Massachusetts man recently complained in an email to Wendy's about a bad experience at the Wareham location, he received a strange response. The district manager allegedly replied that the town had, quote, little to no talent pool to hire from because many people in the area were, quote, recovering addicts. So here's the complainer's Facebook, and he posts a picture of the district manager's email response. So let's read it. It says, good morning, Matt. My name is Keith, and I'm the DM for the Wendy's in Wareham. I apologize for your experience at this location. Not an excuse, but the town of Wareham has little to no talent pool to hire from. This is an ongoing issue in that area. We are constantly interviewing and hiring any and all qualified candidates. Unfortunately, those candidates are hard to come by, as most are recovering addicts, and we cannot hire them. We will continue to do our best to fix the issues in this location and improve the overall Wendy's experience. I appreciate your feedback. Have a good day. So that's simply an honest response. I'm sure that this area does have a high rate of addicts, or a high rate of recovering addicts. And here's this jerk-off's response, this guy Matt, his fucking response to this very considered, very polite email, very honest email. He writes at the bottom here, I try not complain on here, which isn't even a correct English, this guy's probably a recovering addict himself. I try not complain on here that much, but this is ridiculous. I have recently made a formal complaint about our local Wendy's after numerous problems with that location. And here's the DM's response. So, the email I just read. And then he actually has the nerve to write this. It seems the DM has very little appreciation for our town or the people in it. What a fucking jerk off. This guy's just being honest. It has nothing to do, he's not making this claim about the whole town. He's just saying people who seek employment in this field, it's not like everyone in the town there is seeking employment at Wendy's. He's just simply stating a fact about the people in that area who are seeking employment at Wendy's. So this guy takes it personal, makes it as if it's about the whole town. And then while doing so, he makes a fool of himself by writing a sentence that isn't even grammatically correct. I try not complain on here? I try not to complain on here, Matt. Before you attempt to make an ass out of somebody else, why don't you learn how to write so that you're not making an ass of yourself while you're trying to make an ass of somebody else? And unfortunately, this story does not have a happy ending. The Wendy's manager was suspended. That's right, suspended for speaking the truth and trying to apologize and give a reasonable explanation to a customer who was complaining about the service. They should just automate the place and make jerk-offs like this guy Matt service himself. The next story comes to us from CNN, and it is entitled, Steve King questions if there would be any population left if not for rape and incest. See, this story is actually a lot dumber than it appears with just this title. But Steve King uses a rather emotional and sort of schizophrenic and an impossible to prove argument by saying that, what if we went back through all the family trees and just pulled those people out that were a product of rape and incest? Would there be any population of the world left if we did that? Well, Steve, there's no way for us to prove or disprove that. I'd like to think that not all of us are a product of rape and incest. The next statement that he says is, considering all the wars and all the rape and pillage that has taken place, I know I can't certify that I was not a part of a product of that. Steve, I wouldn't be surprised if you were a product of that, because you seem to have some kind of misalignment of your chromosomes, if you know what I mean. Then he says this statement, which is kind of a logical statement, but he's full of shit. He says, I'd like to think that every one of the lives of us are as precious as any other life. This is just his selling point. See, the thing is, yeah, all life is precious. But I don't think that any single life, even if it's a government member, has the right to dictate what a person should do with their body, especially if what was done to their body was done to their body against their own will. See, now, most general abortions, if a woman voluntarily took part in sex beforehand, I think that's her responsibility. As an adult, as a consenting adult, she took part in something that she knew would bring new life into the world. So I don't think that they should be able to have an abortion all willy-nilly. A person who was raped, a person who didn't consent to this activity, should not have to face the consequences of that activity. They should be allowed some leeway. But the article actually itself has a little stupidity in it. So this guy, J.D. Sholton, who's running against Steve King, he said the Iowa Republican is pushing a selfish agenda. I suppose it's a selfish agenda because it's just the government trying to regulate our bodies even more, and accused him of excusing violence. See, now that's not true. He was not excusing violence. He was not excusing rape or incest. He's not saying that rapists should be excused from their crimes. He's not saying that rapists should be allowed to flourish in this world. He's saying that the product or the outcome of those rapes should be allowed to flourish, which, as I've already said, I disagree with. Now, this story has a rather funny ending, and that is that Steve King just recently came out and said that the media and the GOP leaders owe him an apology for his own comments on rape and incest. So instead of coming out and apologizing himself, instead of coming out and saying, you know what I said was kind of stupid and hyperbolic, I didn't really think it through correctly, I take it back, I can't prove any of those statements that I said, and then, reaffirming his stance that he doesn't think that, he could have just said the last part, it's like, I just think that all life is sacred or worthy of saving, including lives that are brought into this world via rape and incest. Instead of saying that, instead of clarifying his message, he comes out and demands an apology and claims that the media and the GOP painted what he said in a negative light. I mean, the guy's old. I guess, you can't blame him for not being quick on his toes. But I spent enough time on this article. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this next article moves us towards the Orwellian part of this section. Now, it's not just Orwellian. It's not just insane. It's also stupid, and I'll get to why it's stupid after. So the article is titled, and it comes from the Wall Street Journal, it's titled, "Are you ready for facial recognitions at the airport?" Airlines and TSA are starting to scan faces to get people through security and boarding faster as privacy advocates warn of unintended consequences. So it goes on to say, travelers have to face a new reality. Their faces are rapidly becoming their IDs and boarding passes at airports. Facial recognition is rolling out at boarding gates for international flights at big airports in Europe, Asia, and the US, even as privacy concerns about the technology grow. Now, these privacy concerns are irrelevant to me because you're out in public. You're not in your private dwelling, okay? So you're out in public. You don't have a right to privacy there. And when you're taking a plane, I'm pretty confident that that's a public record. The stupid thing here is that this technology is not going to get people through faster. It's actually going to really inconvenience people because there are a number of people who look like other people. I'm sure everyone watching this video has seen somebody that looks like them or has been told, oh, wow, you look like somebody I know. I know I myself, I've seen people that look just like me. I've seen people who look just like my cousin. So this is not going to get us through faster. It's actually going to really inconvenience people as this facial recognition software will mistake us for other people. And our next article is actually tied to that article. Oh, by the way, I had to stop reading that other article because I would have to subscribe in order to read more of it. So this next article is tied to that one. It's from CNBC, and it's entitled, Amazon says its facial recognition can now identify fear. So just going back to that other article, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to tie that facial recognition software with this software that can identify emotions, and then it's going to be misidentifying emotions. Or it's going to, people are going to have a certain emotion, and then the technology is going to red flag them and say, oh, this person's angry, or this person's afraid, this person needs to be stopped and checked. So it's just really going to be an inconvenience for a lot of people, especially when you consider this statement made in the article. It says, quote, with this release, we have further improved the accuracy of gender identification, Amazon said in a blog post. I mean, but we're entering an age where people try their hardest to not look like the gender they were born as. But that's that for that bit of stupidity. Let's move on to a bit of hypocrisy out of the Wall Street Journal. This article is titled, Canada's Trudeau found to have broken law in bid to aid Montreal firm. It reads, Canada's ethics watchdog ruled that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau broke conflict of interest laws by trying to steer the then Attorney General away from criminally prosecuting a Montreal company. And if I want to read anything else of value from the article, I would have to subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. And I'm not going to do that, at least not yet. The point that I want to make with this is just, it's hypocritical because Justin Trudeau and all of these fucking liberals, they act like they're for the people, when really, they're just for the corporations. There is no difference between the left and the right when it comes serving corporations. Moving on to the next article. This next article has a bit of insanity, a bit of hypocrisy, and a bit of stupidity all entwined into one. It's also from the Wall Street Journal, and it's titled, NFL Taps Jay-Z for Social Justice Issues and Entertainment Offerings. The article reads, the NFL has struck a broad alliance, that's actually really a proper word for here, an alliance, because that's what it is, with Jay-Z, in which the rapper will both help the league with one of its thorniest problems, smoothing out continuing tensions with players over social justice issues, and expanding the NFL's entertainment offerings, including the Super Bowl halftime show and other creative projects. And of course, if I want to read anything else of value, I have to subscribe. But that's all I really need to read. Now, let's be real. The real purpose of this alliance is not to smooth over social justice issues. The real purpose of this alliance is to save the declining NFL ratings. Let's be honest, if it was about social justice issues, Jay-Z would be probably one of the worst candidates for that, because the guy's an ex-crack dealer. You don't believe me? Here's an article from, I believe it was Vanity Fair's. Unfortunately, I didn't include it in the screenshot, so I kind of forgot. But you can find it. Just type in, did Jay-Z sell crack? And you'll find this article entitled, Jay-Z sold crack as a teenager. I was thinking about surviving. No, of course you were. You were thinking about surviving. You were thinking about yourself and not other people. It makes you a piece of shit, Jay-Z. And you're still a piece of shit. So the article reads, eventually crack became a part of Jay-Z's life too, as a way to make money. The mogul clarified to Vanity Fair, it is Vanity Fair, however, that he never used crack, only sold it. Oh, that makes him such a good person. He never used the crack. He just sold it to people and helped destroy neighborhoods. Okay. It goes on. Did he feel guilty about contributing to the drug problem in his neighborhood? Quote, not until later, when I realized the effects on the community. Oh, really? It took you till later to realize the effects on the community? Come on, man. He explains, I started looking at the community on the whole, but in the beginning, no. I was thinking about surviving. I was thinking about improving my situation. I was thinking about buying clothes. Of course, you superficial piece of shit. But anyway, it's stupid anyway to use Jay-Z as a way to save their ratings, because as you can see here, if you look at the NFL demographics, 77% of NFL fans are Caucasian, 15% being African American, which is actually representative of the amount of African Americans in the United States, and 8% being Hispanic. The 55-plus age demographic is the largest percentage of the NFL fan demographic, or basically the fan base, at 37%. Another 34% of NFL fans are in the 35 to 54 age demographic. So like 60% of NFL fans are over 35. 77% of them are Caucasian. And these idiots actually think that Jay-Z is going to help them with their declining ratings. Wow. These people really don't understand marketing. I could just step in there and be like, you guys don't need Jay-Z, I'm sorry. I know you're trying to open up your audience base, but it's not going to work. It's just going to turn away your current audience base. Moving on to the next article. I'll make this quick because the video's already pretty long. So the Wall Street Journal again. Good thing the Wall Street Journal cuts us off, so it'll be a quick article. The title of this one, Battle Emerges Over Nuclear Waste in America's Oil Patch. Proposal to put atomic waste site in Permian Basin moves forward as opponents worry about the threat to valuable U.S. oil fields. So it reads, a plan to build 2 big nuclear waste storage facilities in the heart of the most important U.S. oil field is igniting a fight between frackers and the atomic energy industry. Wow, I don't even need a... Actually, let's see. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission is considering a proposal to put up to 210,000 tons of nuclear waste, including the most dangerous high-level waste, at 2 sites in the Permian. Wow, this is just hilarious. So they want to put nuclear waste in the middle of the heart of the oil fields, or basically oil country, in the heart of the country. So that will likely, especially when you're talking about fracking, that nuclear waste will seep into the ground. It'll probably end up in the fracking somehow. It'll probably end up in the oil somehow, which is then going to have us using oil that will have nuclear radiation particles in it. Can you say large-scale cancer epidemic? Yeah, I can. So moving away from that terrifying madness, let's move towards some laughable stupidity. Volkswagen and Philadelphia cream cheese had some of their ads banned over gender stereotypes. Now, I don't know what's dumber, the fact that these ads were banned over gender stereotypes, and this happened in Britain, of course, the cuck capital of the world. But actually, maybe Sweden and Germany come before them. So the third cuck capital of the world. I'm not sure what's dumber, though. The fact that these ads were banned or the ads themselves. If you look at the ads, they're actually incredibly goofy. Especially the Volkswagen one. I mean, the Philadelphia cream cheese one, It's a little funny, a little demeaning to men, but that's fine, all in good humor. But they're actually just really dumb. But another incredible thing is that one of the ads, the Philadelphia cream cheese one, that shows two dads looking after their children at a restaurant with a conveyor belt. Like basically these fathers, they lose track of their kids. Like they go into the place, they both have two babies, and then they see like a conveyor belt with food going by, and they put the kids down on the conveyor belt, and then they basically lose track of their kids, and like, oh my god, they get a hold of their kids again, like, let's not tell mom about this. Only 125 viewers complained about this. It's kind of ridiculous. It's like, oh, there's such a small amount of snowflakes complained about this, we gotta ban it. But as I said, the ads are really goofy and really dumb, and that doesn't mean that they should be banned, they should just be laughed at. If anything, people should just not buy these products. I mean, I don't know about Volkswagen. I don't drive cars. I don't really care for these overpriced Volkswagen cars that are on the market. But Philadelphia cream cheese, man, that is some low-grade shit. You don't want to be putting Philadelphia cream cheese in your system. If you look at the ingredients, that shit has gum inside of it. If not multiple kinds of gum, it has gum in it. Okay, so don't eat that shit. And if you don't like the commercials, then don't like the commercials. Just laugh at them and just say, hey, look at this low-grade shit trying to sell themselves with fucking low-grade humor. And the next article also has to do with the third capital of the world, Britain. So, British triathlon athletes disqualified after breaking obscure rule during Olympic qualifier. Now, this is some dumb shit. A pair of British triathlon athletes were disqualified from the World Triathlon Olympic qualifying event in Tokyo after they crossed the finish line holding hands in a photo finish. Here's a picture of them. Look how happy they are. They're holding hands. How fucking stupid is that? How fucking what? I guess this is Japan. I'm sorry. This isn't the third capital of the world. They just happen to be British triathlon athletes. They just happen to be from Britain. But yeah, these ladies were actually disqualified for showing good sportsmanship. They're holding hands crossing the finish line. They're showing good sportsmanship. What do? They disqualify them. Returning back to America, in last week's episode of LWM, I talked a lot about gun control and just the utter madness surrounding gun control laws. So unfortunately this week I'm going to have to talk about gun control again. Because in Philadelphia last week there was a shooting, this guy was shooting police and stuff. But yeah, here's the title of this article is Philadelphia Police Shooting Suspect Has Extensive Criminal History, Commissioner Says. Now, the funny thing about this is that if you see the screen right now, there's all of these articles. Politician pushed for gun control after 6 police officers shot in Philadelphia. Politician pushed for gun control after 6, basically the same headline. While this shooting was going on, they were labeling it a mass shooting, even though it wasn't a mass shooting. It was a guy held up and he was shooting at police who I think were trying to arrest him or something like that. I don't know all the details. The only important detail is that the guy had an extensive criminal record, and this criminal record actually makes it illegal for him to own any firearms. So there's already gun control laws on the books that's supposed to prevent this guy from getting a gun, but he got a gun anyway. So that didn't stop politicians, though, saying we need more gun control, that this shooting means that we need more gun control. But it's like, wait a second, the gun control that's already on the books that already applies to this guy didn't stop this guy from getting a gun. So how does this mean that we need more gun control? It's just utter insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And now I'm going to jump right back over to the third capital of the world, our friend Great Britain. And instead of talking about gun control, we're now going to be talking about knife control and just the utter stupidity behind banning things. So this one is titled Home Office Stabbing, Civil Servant Knifed in Unprovoked Attack in Westminster. Man arrested after civil servant in 60s stabbed by suspect carrying ferret. I don't know why they talked about the guy carrying a ferret. Are ferrets banned in Britain too? I mean, that would be fucking hilarious if ferrets are banned too and the guy had a fucking ferret. But, so yeah, this guy stabbed the civil servant who's in his 60s, basically right outside a home office, which is like right outside a political building. So the funny thing here is that knives were banned in London. Here's this article titled Gun Control, London Muslim Mayor Sadiq Khan Bans Knives. And this was a year ago, April 9th of 2018. And a hilarious thing is you have this article pretty much over a year later, July 18th, 2019, basically 1 year and a couple months after, titled UK Knife Crimes Hit Record High Despite Mayor's Knife Control. So there you go, just more proof that the government controlling shit does not help anything. And another funny thing that should be noted is going back to that stabbing suspect. It says this in the article. Police said the suspected attacker, a 29-year-old man, was carrying banned CS spray as well as the knife. So this guy had a knife which is banned in London, and he also had banned CS spray, which is like a pepper spray. Just complete insanity. I mean, I don't understand how people remain fucking ignorant of this shit. That, the government regulating stuff doesn't fucking work. Should I say it slower? The government regulating / banning stuff does not fucking work. Moving on to the next story. God, I feel like a fucking kangaroo because guess what? We're going to be hopping back over to America now. This article is titled, Trump Accuses Media of Crashing the Economy to Ruin His Presidency Amid Recession Concerns. Donald Trump has once again lashed out at the media, but this time to blame reporters for trying to tank the U.S. economy in a conspiracy to deny him a second term in the White House. Oh, wait a second. So President Trump is allowed to believe and make up conspiracies, but everyone else isn't, right? Okay, yeah, that's right. That's that first class, second class citizen fucking difference. That's right. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, first class masters. You guys can come up with conspiracies. The Russian conspiracy. The conspiracy to crash the economy by the media. But any other fucking conspiracies from any of you second class dirtbags, that fucking makes you crazy, and you'll be red flagged so you can't have guns in the future. The article goes on to say, the president's attacks come after Mr. Trump, it should be President Trump, I don't know why all of these fucking articles are calling him Mr. Trump. I don't even fucking like the guy, and I know that the proper way of saying it is President Trump, not fucking Mr. Trump. So the president's attack comes after Mr. Trump delayed imposing some further tariffs on China as the two countries engage in an ongoing trade war and as some economists have warned of a looming recession that could drag down the president's re-election prospects. So this is what Trump says, okay? Or as the fucking news likes to say, Mr. Trump. So, what the fucking ridiculousness. The fake news media, this is Trump saying this, the fake news media, I'm sorry guys, I can't do a good Trump accent, so I'm just going to read it. The fake news media is doing everything they can to crash the economy because they think that will be bad for me and my re-election, Mr. Trump said. Okay, so it goes on to say, he continued, the problem they have is that the economy is way too strong and we will soon be winning big on trade and everyone knows that, including China. The decision to hold back on further tariffs on Chinese goods was made at least in part to shield U.S. consumers from the impact of higher costs just as consumers head to stores at the beginning of the busy holiday shopping season. See, now this is all bullshit, of course. And you can see very obviously, if you just look at this chart of the Dow Jones, that, no, the economy was crashing because of this trade war. Look, here you have it. Right here you have it. This is the thing. Right here on Tuesday, August 13th, that's when he announced these further tariffs. And the market went down like 800 points. Was it 800 points? I believe it was 800 points that day, yeah. And then he announced that he was going to hold off, and guess what? The economy started, well, not the economy. The market is not the economy, okay? See, these fucking assholes, they say this shit so much, it confuses even me sometimes. So then right after he announced that the tariffs were going to be, or some of the tariffs were going to be put on hold, the market started to recover a little bit. It went up like 300 points. So it's not the media, Trump. It's your ongoing trade war with China and the amount of tariffs that you're putting on them. And here's an article from The Guardian from July 30th, 2019. This is before his latest rounds. This is before the market crashed like 800 points. Markets fall sharply as Donald Trump attacks China over trade deal. So there you have it. And here goes another one. And this article is simply to address when Trump says that everyone knows it, including China. So here's an article from The Independent, also from last week. China vows to counter latest U.S. tariffs while Trump says any deal would have to be on our terms. So clearly China doesn't fucking know that, you're going to be winning the trade deal so bigly because they're going to be looking to counter the latest U.S. tariffs. So this one, though, from The Independent goes on to say, China has threatened to retaliate against the latest U.S. tariffs on $300 billion of Chinese imports, but called for a compromise in order to reach a deal. So pretty much the funny thing about this article is it's saying that, basically the Chinese are also giving mixed messages. They're saying that they're going to counter, but then they're also saying that we hope the U.S. will meet China halfway. And I'm going to show you how both of them are just talking shit. They're both just fucking with the markets. They're both just fucking with people's heads. Because as you're going to see here, I'm going to show you now a whole list of articles that go back from the beginning of this year saying, oh, the trade deal is fine. So here's one from January 31st, 2019. U.S. China trade talks going well, says Trump. Now, here's one from February. I'm going to show you one from basically each month. And now here's one from February 16th. This is like 16 or 17 days after that first one. US President Donald Trump is light on specifics, but says trade talks with China are going extremely well. This is way back in February, going extremely well. Now this is March 29th, over a month and a half later. Trump, trade talks with China going very well. Oh really? So they've been going very well in January, going well in February, going well in March, and now we're going to be in April. Epic China trade deal near completion, Trump says, but haggling continues. So, oh really, epic China trade deal, okay, nearing completion. Okay, that was April 4th. Here we go, the end of April, April 24th, 20 days later. Trump says US-China trade talks going well. Oh really? Saying that they're going well again. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So now going into May 30th, a month and like 10 days later. Update. Trump says U.S. doing well in trade talks with China. It's pretty much the same fucking headline. Just, oh, it's going well. And now moving into June 29th, another month later, like a full month, May 30th to June 29th. Trump says he agreed with Xi to hold off on new tariffs and to let Huawei buy U.S. products. Okay, yeah, that's June 30th. Basically, a month later is when they finally start to admit that, oh no, the trade talks are not going well, and that's when Trump put on more tariffs. So that ends that kerfuckle. Let's move on to the next one. Now we're going to move on to a real conspiracy, something that conspiracy theorists and truthers have been saying for a long time. And that is this article from The Independent entitled, Facebook let people listen to recordings of people as they used app, company reveals. Oh wow, and the article reads, Facebook allowed people to listen to things people said around their phone, it has revealed. See, just things that you said around your phone. So they're basically hacked into your phone. The company took recordings of people using Messenger and allowed contractors to listen to them to ensure its transcription services were working properly. Come on, what kind of bullshit is that? It says it has now stopped the practice following outcry. It comes after other companies, including Apple, Google, and Amazon, face criticism for also listening into people's voice recordings. So all of these big tech companies, which are basically totally in control of the internet, totally in control of the speech on the internet, are also eavesdropping on your conversations. And not just these companies listed, not just Apple, Google, Amazon, and Facebook, but guess what? Look at this next article from Tech Radar. Humans are listening to some of your Skype calls and Cortana interactions. So Microsoft is also listening. This Microsoft confirms it in new privacy policy. So now in their privacy policy that they have you agree to, Microsoft is letting you know that they're listening to your conversations. You have a good idea, you're talking about it around any Microsoft products or any Facebook or anything that has Facebook on it or any Apple products or any of these other products from like Google, Amazon. Well, guess what? They're going to steal that idea. So the article goes on to say, some of our worst assumptions about smart speakers, digital assistants, and internet phone services are coming true. By the way, I hate this shit right here. You see, there's something called the Harvard comma, and they're getting rid of it. And it's fucking awful for our fucking grammar. It doesn't make any sense. And the Harvard comma is the comma before the and. Okay, I'll get into that in another video. But anyway, going back to the article, I digress. So digital assistants and internet phone services are coming true, as Microsoft has admitted that both Microsoft employees and contractors may listen to your Skype calls and voice interactions with its Cortana digital assistants. So there you go, guys, okay? So they're listening to you, everything is fucked, this is total fucking madness. It's something that conspiracy theorists have let you fucking know for a long time, and guess what, it's true. Trump's fucking media conspiracy bullshit, not true whatsoever. This shit totally true, but if you talk about it, you'll be labeled as a conspiracy theorist, and then red flagged and considered a danger to the fucking general public, and then have your rights taken away in the future. There's plenty more that I can say, but I'm going to end it here because the video is long enough, and I'm sure you guys are already tired of hearing me. I'll see you guys in the next video.